I'm Debbie Peveril, and you're listening to the weekly tip from basicboardgovernance.ca. This week, I'm talking a little bit more about conflict of interest. Last week, I talked about it in general, and I mentioned that I have this new book out on Amazon about conflict of interest, which, I'd appreciate if you'd go by. This week, I want to talk a bit about setting up the definitions and the policies. You need to have a definition of what a conflict of interest is that makes sense to your board members and your employees. People hear the word conflict of interest and they know it's a bad thing, and they will always say, I would never do that. But until it's made clear what that is, I can't tell you how many times I've heard from somebody who says, yeah, I know that's, my next door neighbor, friend, daughter, whatever, but I can be impartial when I'm making decisions. Well, I don't think that's true. So you need to have explained to board members in this situation, and the situation has to be something that comes up in your group, something that they're going to have to deal with. So it really comes home to them what it is that this conflict of interest would be. And you need to say, okay, if this happens, what do you do? Are you in conflict? Because people in general are going to think they're not in conflict when anybody else looking at it is going to say, well, of course, you have a conflict of interest situation there. And your definition of conflict of interest shouldn't include the word conflict or interest. No, we typically say you shouldn't be involved in a decision where there is a potential for you to benefit personally. A board member has sworn in their duty of loyalty that they are going to do what's best for the organization. So sometimes what's best for the organization may not be what's best for them, but they have taken that duty on to be loyal just to the organization. So all of that needs to be discussed. You need to flesh out your policies and your examples so that when people look at the conflict of interest situation in your organization, they're able to deal with it. Your policies will work better if they're far less abstract.